You can lead an amazing training session, but if you don't leave time at the end to close well, all that learning is lost when people walk out the door. If you want people to leave raving about your session and motivated to change, then how you close really matters. In this video, I share a 5-step process that takes people from reflection to intention, insight to action, so that the learning that sticks actually gets put into practice out in the real world. Hi, I'm Kerry Price. I'm the founder of the Facilitators Network, and I use the principles of deliberate generosity to make sure that no meeting or workshop is ever wasted. Over the last 20 years, I've facilitated thousands of meetings, workshops, and community conversations, and now I help other trainers and facilitators do that well too. A good training session leaves time at the end for people to recap and reflect. But a great training session takes it one step further so that the recapping and reflection actually turns into action. To help do this for the participants that I work with, I use a 5-step process called deliberate reflection. And I use the word deliberate deliberately because deliberate has 2 meanings. As a verb, deliberate means to think deeply. And as an adjective, it means to act with intention. So this process, deliberate reflection, means thinking deeply about what you've learned so that you can act with intention. So step 1 in the process is to recap and reflect. And essentially that's just carving out time for people to look back on the day's content, what stood out for them, what surprised them, what sense making can they make of that. Do that in pairs, do it in small groups. You can even use these reflection prompts, which you might have seen in another video of mine. Step 2 is moving from reflection to projection. And what I mean by that is we can spend a lot of time looking back on the day and the content and what that might mean. But what does it mean looking forward? So I invite participants to look further down the track, a year from now. The learning that they've done today, what difference do they hope it will make? How I do this is I invite participants to find a partner and imagine that they're banging into each other in the street a year from now. So after that little bit of small talk, I get them to ask each other, what difference has this training session actually made for you? What has happened as a result of that workshop we shared a whole year ago today? Now, depending on the workshop, I might give them some prompt questions. I might invite them to jot down the difference it's made in their relationships or their communication or how they worked as a team. Other times I just leave it open. Invite them to think 12 months down the track and jot down what difference has this workshop actually made. So step 1 is reflect and review, looking back. Step 2 is future projection. What difference do we want this workshop to have made a year from now? Step 3 is about getting clear about, well, what's required? I mean, hope is not a strategy. We can't hope that it's going to make a difference. We actually need to do something. So at this point, I ask participants on their own to reflect on 3 things. The first is, what am I going to do or do differently as a result of this workshop? So what are the insights, the aha moments that I'm like, oh, I'm totally going to do that. Yeah, I really want to make that happen. That's the first thing. The second thing I invite them to do is, what's going to stop them from following through? So I invite them to think about what barriers or challenges or hurdles might come up. You know, they leave with great intentions. I'm going to do it or do it differently. But what are the things that might get in their way? And then the third thing I ask them to reflect on is, knowing that there's those hurdles or challenges that might come up, what are you going to put in place so that you can overcome it? If you know the challenges are going to be there, let's prepare for them ahead of time. So that's step 3, giving participants a chance to actually think about what's required. Just projecting forward and hoping, it's not enough. Step 4 is where we start to gain momentum. So they've reflected, they've reviewed, they've projected forward, they know the difference they want it to make, they've come up with the things that they want to do or do differently and ways they'll overcome those hurdles. Now let's get some action. So on step 4, I invite them to make a 7-day action plan. And a 7-day action plan is just one activity or one task, one to-do every day for the next 7 days, so that they start to get momentum around the things that they want to change or do differently. So it might be on day 1, I'm going to send an email to Mark to talk about setting up a meeting. On day 2, it might be I'm going to review my diary. I don't know, whatever it might be, depending on what the workshop is about. But by committing to doing one action for the next 7 days, they'll actually gain some momentum. So those new commitments, those decisions they've made, actually have the best chance of happening. So step 5 of this process is where we start to get personal. We've given participants a chance to recap on the content of the day and reflect on what it means to them. We've given them a chance to project forward. What difference do we want this to make a year from now? We've given them a chance to make some commitments. What's required? What do I want to do or do differently for this to actually have made a difference? And we've talked about a 7-day action plan. So we can put all of those commitments, we can get some momentum so that it happens. But step 5, like I said, is where we get personal. All this other stuff is task focused, but if we really want the learning to make a difference, participants need to think about how they're going to show up. Who do they need to be in order for this learning to really stick and make a difference back in the workplace? So one way that I help participants get clear on that is to use these being cards. There's a whole bunch of them with different words on them, with different ways of being. So they might want to be visionary, or they might want to be open-minded, or they might want to be consistent. Different people will need to be different things depending on the goals that they have set for themselves. So I give people a set of cards to work through, or I might lay out a set of cards on the floor and invite them to hover around and choose one for themselves. I invite them to use that word as a torch they will carry going forward from the workshop. Once people have settled on a word, we're standing in a circle, everyone's holding the word that they've chosen, and I invite people, when they're ready, to step into the center of the circle with this phrase. The torch I carry from this workshop is a commitment to being whatever the word is for them. It's a really powerful activity. You get this kind of anthem of people making commitments to the kind of person they're going to be in order to achieve their goals. Now, those cards are pretty cool in themselves, but if you want to make it even cooler, I sometimes get them to choose a being card and then write their word on a little tea light candle and flick it on, and then they step in actually lighting up the room with their intentions of who they're going to be. It's pretty cool. So that's a 5-step process that you might need a few prompts for, but luckily enough, I'm going to give them to you all for free. If you head over to my website now, you can download these being cards for free off my website. And you can download the reflective cards for free off my website. It's full of all sorts of cool resources. Link in the description below. Go check it out.